Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later, as now it's time for a brand new unboxing video. Now you'll find a link to TIFF sources listing for today's toy in the video description, so maybe get in on that action. In the meantime, we're remembering one of the classic moments in Transformers fiction that surely every kid was just dying to own a toy of. Yeah, that may have been a poor choice of words. But anyway, who hasn't wanted to see one of their childhood heroes immortalised in corpse toy form, right? Well, the fine folks at Hasbro have got you covered, as here is Earthrise Alternate Universe Optimus Prime. And may I say, he looks drop-dead gorgeous. Right, so here is Earthrise Alternate Universe Optimus Prime, and that's just a fancy way of saying that it's dead Prime, right? Like, let's be clear, this is just the dead body of Optimus Prime from Transformers, the movie, the '86 animated version. And that's a really weird basis for a toy, but it's not the first time it's been done, as we'll see. And hey, look, the box is really, really lovely, it has to be said. It's some very nice artwork, kind of simple in its design, but the bit that really sets it off for me is just these characters here, Hot Rod, Ultra Magnus and RC, just kind of reflected in Prime's chest. And it's morbid, what can I say? It's very, very morbid, but it's cool. Right, well, really excited to check this one out. And as a few people actually already online have pointed out to me, you know, it's not the typical kind of thing that I collect, actually. And, you know, that is true. That is absolutely true. But, you know, sometimes exceptions have got to be made, haven't they? I have seen this guy before, the mold, so I'm familiar with the mold, but still looking forward to seeing this version. Here we go. Well, right off the bat, you're in no doubt as to what's going on here, as they've even tied up Prime. I mean, he's dead, isn't he? He's dead on the table, dead on arrival, you might say. There he is, and it's what a way to package a toy. That's just you gotta laugh, haven't you? I mean, it's wow. Anyway, there's a few little twisty ties and other little, you know, ropes and other bits of packaging connecting them in. So we'll go ahead and get those out and get him unboxed. So yeah, you know what, I have to say I love the packaging overall, and I do feel that they've really gone to town with it. That's really cool. I like the way that they've displayed the toy inside. I mean, you know, if you're going to commit to a concept like this, you may as well go the full way, right? Which is definitely what they've done. And here you can see the full contents of the box. It's pretty simple, but it's just the toy itself, the trailer, the gun, and of course the instruction sheet. Now, I feel like the trailer was probably a bit of a sort of indulgent inclusion, really, in this package. They could have done without it. But I'm just guessing, I would be surprised, I mean maybe not, but I'd be surprised if somewhere along the line there wasn't like a discussion about, you know, do we need the trailer in this box? And someone went, well hang on a minute, that could just be like his death slab, no? And they just threw it in there. But anyway, it's in there, that's what you get in the box. And you know, right off the bat, this toy looks stupendous, looks really, really nice, has to be said. I am, as I mentioned already, I am familiar with this mold. I have seen it, other people's copies in different colours, of course, the Earthrise Prime and the Siege mold as well. But actually seeing it in the old grey and black just here really sets it off quite nicely. I think it looks absolutely marvellous. Very, very clean design as well. I mean, just do the old 360, and you know, there is a bit of truck kibble, the old wheels on the back just there. It's just slightly unfortunate. It's the kind of thing that you know, I would probably rather do without. But you know, on the whole, other than that, cleans up really, really nicely, has to be said. And I think it's, you know, just generally a great sculpt and a very kind of characteristic rendition of the character, you know, of Optimus Prime. Now, of course, the big difference here is it's not just the paint scheme, you know, the overall paint job. There is some sort of smaller detailing that actually kind of, I was going to say brings to life. That's probably the wrong turn of phrase for this toy. Let's say evokes the theme that is on offer here. And that actually you can just see on the head includes some little painted details such as the scratches on the faceplate, but also includes some remolding as well, because they've actually purposely mangled the toy a little bit, including the antennae just there. You can see are all kind of, you know, mangled up and looking really, really quite eerie. And it definitely gives a particular look for this toy, or, you know, all things considered. They've really committed to it, as I say. Now, of course, you've also got a little nod to the movie just here, looking rather on point, if you forgive the turn of phrase. There's just this little bit of paint application there to indicate the wound that he received from Megatron. It's a kind of killing blow, as it were. Spoilers, but, you know, I'm sure you know the story by now, from the 1986 movie, so there you go. Now, I have heard of a couple of QC problems on this toy, but the only one I've seen to have is just here, this little stress mark that you can see just there, which is rather unfortunate. I hadn't noticed it actually initially, but yeah, it was like that straight out the box, and I guess you can write it off as a little war wound, but yeah, it's still not very good. I have to say, I do really like the general level of detail on this toy. The moulding is really nice, not too overdone though. I'm someone that, I don't collect a lot of Generations toys, as some of you will know, but I did feel like Siege, for me, generally was just like too greebly, do you know what I mean? Just too much detail. Some people loved it, it just wasn't quite my bag. Whereas this actually, I think, is a really nice kind of blend. It's not too simplistic, but it's not too overdone at the same time. And I do also think that some of the applications, the tampos, things like the Autobot logos, it all looks really good. That's also quite true of the paint applications in areas such as the chest. Just here you can see that sort of silver trim. It looks really, really nice. Quite an interesting colour scheme on this guy, as well as the previous Dead Prime that I own, the Masterpiece version that we'll look at in just a minute, is a kind of muted red, whereas this is actually very clearly black, but then it's got this kind of very kind of off grey on areas such as the thighs as well. But it works, very well overall. It looks good as a colour scheme, I think. I've already kind of mentioned it, but it's unfortunate that those wheels hang sort of so obviously on his back just there. It's kind of the one bit of this whole design that I think is slightly unfortunate or in kind of any way compromised. As actually otherwise it's really very clean. The sculpt looks great. It's just those wheels kind of hanging off his bum, which it's not the biggest problem in the world, but it does kind of impede the waist swivel a little bit, as well, as we'll see. Love these lower legs though, and although you can't fold the wheels away and kind of true, classic cartoony Optimus Prime style, it still looks excellent. And actually I don't mind the wheels being there. I'm someone that, I like that look as much as I like the cartoon look. So, either way really, but yeah, it looks good. Love, love, love that face sculpt as well. I know I've kind of already alluded to it, but I really love it. Just think it's superb. So yeah, overall, I think this figure presents really, really nicely. It has to be said. It's a great design. I really like the sculpt, really like the overall look of him. It's definitely Optimus Prime, and it's one of the kind of better looking mainline Optimuses that I think we've seen anyway. So in that regard, I think it's a terrific success. And, really interesting homage with the kind of Dead Prime as well. It's not something that, I thought we would ever see in the mainline, but here we are. And articulation-wise, it's pretty good too. I mean, you've got head on a ball joint, so that's got a really nice swivel. Love that head sculpt, got to be said. Got really decent, quite decent waist swivel as well, goes to about there. Slightly impeded by those wheels, as I mentioned. And then arms, come all the way up and out to the side. You've got everything you could need at those shoulders, to be fair. In terms of the elbows, they go up to about 90 degrees. I do wish that they maybe went a little bit further, but realistically that's fine. And then there's a bicep swivel just in there as well. And then you do have a wrist swivel, and actually the fingers are articulated all on one piece. No articulation in the thumb. Really like the articulation at the hips, actually. Sometimes you see good and bad examples on Optimus toys, and this is a good one where it just kind of folds up quite neatly like that. Very simple, but it works. And that goes actually just a little bit, no, I'm going to say more than 90 degrees, but yeah, just 90 degrees, there you go. And the knees, really nice articulation at the knees, just like that. You can see they go just quite a bit further past 90 degrees, so that's cool. And then you do have ankle tilt as well, just like that. They kind of clip into place, but they will articulate, and you get a bit of toe articulation as well, if that's your thing. All of which means that actually he's pretty sprightly for a dead man, and he can pose very, very nicely indeed. In fact, I've had great fun already just quickly putting him through a couple of different poses just off camera, and I think he's great, honestly. Really, really like this. A couple of joints that I wish were maybe a little bit tighter, particularly in the old head. You can see just there, I mean, it will hold, but there is a bit of looseness on the old ball joint there, so that could maybe just do with a little dab of super glue or something. And I did find in maybe just kind of the legs as well, I could do with a little bit more stability than you've got, but really, it's fine, honestly. And then of course you've got Prime's blaster, which is a fairly chunky and stylized interpretation of his classic rifle, but it still looks pretty good. I mean, you've got things like the clip in there, so that looks, nice attention to detail. It is painted silver, so that's good. And then it's got bare plastic on the handle, which is probably a smart choice. And indeed on this little peg just there on the side as well. There is a bit of paint slop on mine on the handle, which is rather unfortunate, but there you go. And it does just fold over like that as well for weapon storage, as we'll see. Now, as you might expect, it's a very simple process of just pegging it into the character's hand like that, and that's very easy to do. Yeah, and it's only fair to say that that looks the absolute nuts in his hand just there. It's really, really cool. It's about as good a looking Prime Blaster as you could realistically hope for, and it looks great with the toy. Now, I think what is quite fun with this one is that there is actually a couple of peg holes just on the sides of his arms. So if you really wanted to, then you could, you know, position it like a kind of arm-mounted cannon or something like that, a bit kind of Megatron-esque on his arm, or indeed further down if you really prefer, just like that. You know, if that kind of works for you, there you go. I don't know, not probably something I would do, but there you go. It is on his other arm as well. But then he's also got a similar peg hole on his back, and actually that's the one that I think works really, really well, as you can just sort of simply, you know, peg in his gun on his back like that. That looks really cool to my eye, just kind of slung, you know, ready for action. Like so. I really, really like that, and I think that's, you know, that's not something that you see in a lot of Optimus toys, but I think that works. I should probably point out though that the instructions actually want you to install it like that for weapons storage, so kind of folded up looking like a little backpack. I prefer my way, but hey, you do you. Now, in terms of other accessories, you do of course have his trailer section, which is shown here opened up into its battle platform mode, and it looks really nice. I really like the molding on here. I think that's cool, kind of superb, and you know, nicely robotic, you know, robotic molding just there. But it is unpainted, so it does look quite unfinished to my eye, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, it's nice enough, but it would definitely benefit from, you know, a bit of a wash or a lick of paint or something. It's got this kind of, it's the same kind of browny grey colour from his thighs. Which actually just, I don't know, kind of en masse here looks, I don't know, a little bit overpowering maybe, I don't know. I'm not so sure about the colour choice for the trailer, if I'm being completely honest, but it's fine, it looks okay. And of course, if you really want to, then you can, you know, lie Prime down like he's dead, you know, on his little deathbed just there. That's kind of the benefit of including the trailer, I guess. I don't know, man. Display options, I guess, if that's what you really, really want to do. I think what is quite cool as well, of course, is that they've also included the little, you know, combat deck section here. So that kind of pops up, and then it's got little arms there, so it can be kind of, I don't know, attempting to fix him or bring him back to life. If probably no hope at this point, but there you go. Definite short circuit vibe on this guy to my eye. I think he looks really, really cool, I have to say. Like the kind of stylized interpretation. Does have movable arms as well, just at the this kind of shoulder, I guess you want to call it, just there. But and then of course there's a bit of articulation just in the post that's kind of holding him on. But altogether, this looks really cool. And there's a bit of a close-up of the molded detail inside the trailer for you. As I say, I do think it looks really, really nice on its own. Just, you know, maybe a slight lick of paint would have benefited it. That's all. But there's a few more gimmicks to go with this trailer section, because in this little door section you can actually pull out the main bit. There we go. It's a bit hard to get out, but that comes out, and then it can be mounted on one of Prime's arms like a little shield. There we go, or indeed on any of the peg holes. Might be a little bit late for it now, but there you go. And then this entire combat deck section just here actually unpegs as well, and that goes into the port on Optimus's back, just like that. And there you go, he's fully kitted up and ready for battle, even though he looks like he's already done. But still, it's a lot of fun, and I really like these kind of gimmicks that they've included here. In fact, there's a lot of play value in this toy overall. I would say it's absolutely tons of fun. I've really enjoyed kind of experimenting with the different peg holes already, just kind of, you know, plugging in different bits here and there. Obviously, the shield can go anywhere you want it to, as can this guy. There's quite a lot of fun to be had here, it's fair to say. And you know, it doesn't end there, as actually, just like every other modern Optimus toy worth their salt, there is a little matrix compartment just in there, which looks really spectacular actually. I like the inclusion of the kind of gold just there and the nice little bit of blue on the matrix. I think that looks great. Yeah, nice little touch. And if I'm honest, I don't know why, I hadn't clocked that this toy had that prior to getting it in hand. And yeah, really nice inclusion for a toy this size. I think it's really, really cool. And you can, he says, get the matrix out as well. It's a bit of a fiddle, but we'll give it a go. And here it is, and yeah, I'm not going to lie, that is a bit of a struggle to get out. It took several attempts, but it does look really, really nice, and I like the kind of sparkly blue that it's got in the center. That's really, really cool. It is hollow on the other side, as you can see, which obviously sets it apart from the kind of masterpiece matrices, but still, it looks really, really good overall. Nice paint applications on this thing, and very cool little inclusion. So yeah, overall, really like this robot mode. Has to be said, I think it's pretty glorious. You know, as a total package, I'm really pleased that they included the trailer as well, because it is nice to check it out. No roller in sight or anything like that, but to be honest, I don't really think you need it. I know some people would say it's disappointing it's not here, but I think as a total package, actually for the price point, it's pretty exceptional stuff. Do you know what I mean? It has to be said. Right, well, let's do a couple of quick comparisons of this guy anyway. And one of the first figures that I was keen to see it next to was MP49. Black Convoy, and of course this guy is not a Black Convoy. He's Deathbed Prime, or whatever you want to call him, but by the same token, of course, Optimus Prime in grey, black, whatever else. It's an interesting comparison all the same. And we've also got the original Black Convoy. This is the JAFCON one. From the early 2000s, convention exclusive JAFCON convention, and I wheeled this one out with a couple of reviews recently, but here it is, so you can see a quick comparison. And actually, not too much height difference between those two molds, but yeah, basically G1 Optimus Prime, Earthrise Optimus Prime, Masterpiece Optimus Prime. There you go. In terms of another comparison, here you go with MP4S Sleep Mode Convoy, and this is actually the first, I believe, Deathbed Prime that we've seen in toy form. I might be correct in saying that these are the only two we've ever had, but if that's not correct, then please do, you know of another one that I've forgotten about, then please do go ahead and correct me in the comments. But yeah, certainly these two are birds of a feather, I guess, because this was the Masterpiece version of the original Masterpiece Convoy or Optimus Prime mold, MP1. This was the repaint of the MP4 release with the trailer and everything, so it does come with a very nice trailer. But you can see here, huge size difference, but also very different in terms of color. This is the slightly muted red and blue version that I was talking about earlier, and quite interesting to see that it's sort of two different takes on this same homage, I guess. And just to come in a little bit closer on this guy, because it's really not a toy that you see every day. I mean, there were only, I forget how many were made actually now. Obviously I have one of them, but very, very small, limited numbers. And it's one of those that a lot of people just assume is black, but indeed it is not. As you can see there, it is very, 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 very muted red and blue. So yeah, very strange colour scheme indeed, but quite different to the Earthrise version in terms of how they've interpreted it. Anyway, it's just occurred to me that maybe MP4S would be a fun Toy of the Week video to do at some point. So if indeed that's something that you'd like to see, maybe hit me up in the comments and let me know. And today we're going to crack on and do transformation on this guy and see what he looks like in truck mode. So let's go. Okay, and here he is in his truck mode, and you know what? The transformation is kind of fun, has to be said. I was already familiar with it from previous versions of this mold, as I say, that I've had a go on, but really there's nothing too complex there that should give you any kind of challenge whatsoever. Certainly nothing like the Masterpiece versions, it just doesn't have the same level of complexity or engineering, but what it does have is very usefully applied, I would say. In fact, there's some really clever little bits to it. I mean, I particularly like these little panels that fold out from the sides and obviously kind of come in, to make the cab section look a lot cleaner. I think that's really, really cool. Even little bits like the little panels that fold up from the knees that obviously then connect into the back of the arms to make that feel a little bit more stable as well. It's all really, really nice. And the result looks cool, I think. I mean, look, you're in no doubt about who this is meant to be, right? It's clearly Optimus Prime in his truck form, and it cleans up pretty well, I think. I like the way the trailer attaches, and again, I am appreciative of them including the trailer in this release, even though it might, could be seen as a little bit superfluous. I do think that the trailer, actually, just looking at it now, looks slightly undersized almost, like it's not quite proportional to the cab. Is that just me, or I don't know? What do you think? To my eye anyway, the trailer section could maybe be just a little bit bigger. But it does look really cool with the little stripe here, the little circular detail there. It's all really on point and definitely does a good job at kind of evoking Optimus Prime. Weirdly, he's got 3 different sets of wheels on him. Hey ho, there you go. It is what it is. It doesn't look bad, but just perhaps not what I'm used to. But overall, I do think it cleans up very well. You know, and on the whole, this thing really does look good, as I say. I mean, I think it's cleaned up very nicely. I really like the cab section and how kind of cohesive and tidy it is, has to be said. You know, and actually it's funny, considering that a lot of Optimus Prime toys, you know, considering how iconic the character is, a lot of them can be compromised in some way or another in truck form. Actually, you don't really see that a lot with this one. I think it's pretty good. I'm not a big fan of these little cylinder sections on the side. They kind of fold out from the legs and they don't really kind of sit in place at all. They feel like they're forever going to flop down just like that, which is slightly annoying, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. On the whole, I think it looks great. Definitely worth me just paying a quick bit of attention to the front of the cab here, as all of this silver and everything here looks great. Really catches the light nicely, really like the headlights, all look superb. And of course a lot of that is stuff that we haven't seen from the robot mode because of the way that it folds away. I mean, you've got the windows just here, where of course is his chest, but actually everything underneath that is hidden in different parts of the robot mode, particularly this kind of grille section. So, you know, very creative solution, like it a lot. Now from a kind of rear view, you can see that this back section of the trailer does look very busy, but it doesn't look bad at all. And you can also fold the little door down. You will just need to pry open the top of the trailer section slightly in order to let it go. But there you go, you can just fold that down like so. So you've got a bit of play value. You can, I don't know, maybe fit a few things in there, whatever you want really. It's probably also worth paying a bit of attention to the rear of the cab section here, because although a lot of it, you know, is normally hidden by the trailer, if you've got that in place, it actually looks pretty good. And again, you know, I feel like this is one area that on a lot of Optimus Prime modes is often a little bit compromised, like it can look really messy or whatever else, even on some of the Masterpiece designs, and actually they've done a nice job with it here. I mean, it is essentially a pair of robot mode legs folded up, but because of the shape of them, it looks sort of a bit squared off. You have got the the all too common compromise of the feet just sort of hanging off the back here a bit unceremoniously, but it's fine. You know, it's really not bad at all. And actually you've got a bit of extra weapon storage just there, because you can just peg the gun in like so, and actually that has the sort of additional benefit of filling in just the sort of, you know, slightly sunk in section in the back of the cab mode there as well. That looks quite nice, if anything. And actually I was quite surprised to see that you can even fit the gun in with the trailer in place. I wasn't sure if that would impede, but it doesn't, so that's really good. And it's worth mentioning that there are even a couple of little legs that you can fold out of the bottom of the trailer, so you can have it standing all on its own if you want, which leaves the truck free to roll around. So what else can I say? I mean, really, it's a good show all around. It's a lovely mold. I really do like it. You know, and as someone that doesn't typically collect Generations toys or mainline toys or whatever, I have to say that I've had a great time with this so far. So, you know, really looking forward to taking some pictures of it as well. I think it cleans up very nicely in both modes. There's great interactivity with the trailer, lots of play value. It's fun to transform as well. It's the kind of thing that, you know, you're going to want to sit and, you know, even if you're just watching a film or whatever, you kind of fiddle with quite a bit. So in that regard, it's just all win. I love the homage to that iconic moment from the Transformers movie. I think that's all really well done as well. And it's just the kind of thing that you don't expect toys to really reference all that well, and yet here we are. So I'm also very excited that I'm going to be taking some pictures of the Toy Hacks set for this guy as well. Toy Hacks they're doing up some stickers to make this guy look more like a kind of zombie Prime, you know, back from the dead as it were, which is going to be quite a bit of fun. And I'm going to be doing some photos for them, so can't wait. I mean, they do great stuff anyway, Toy Hacks, you know, with Autobot symbols, Decepticon symbols, whichever ones you want. They do lots of repro stuff, you know, for Generation 1 and old vintage figures. They do lots of new stuff for toys like this. And I'm dead excited to see what they've cooked up with the set for alternate universe Optimus Prime here, you know, to kind of turn him into a bit of a zombie. I think it's going to be really, really good fun. But for today, for this guy, as he stands, what can I say? Of course, it's a toot. So that's Earthrise alternate universe Optimus Prime. He really is dead good. Now I'll put a link to TF Source's listing for this guy in the video description, and I'll be able to get the full review up on their blog soon. Otherwise, that's it from me, so don't forget to drop me a like if you enjoyed today's video, and have a great rest of your day. TTFN.